Today marks a new moon, and it's also the first day that I'm completely alone after almost 6 months of traveling with either my partner or just my sister, my twin sister. And I didn't realize it was the new moon today. I find it interesting. The new moon signifies a new cycle and new beginnings. It's almost like a reset for the month, and it's a great time for rejuvenation and manifestation, and to create space for what you want in your life, either people, experiences, or things that you want to manifest into your life. So it's new beginnings for me. Wow. The days coming up to today, and that was probably, let's say, the last month or two, really the last, especially 2 weeks, I felt like my hands were extended outward, trying to stop time, trying to resist. I didn't want this day to happen. I was so scared. And I was scared, but I was also apprehensive and unsure and didn't want this. And my sister left early in the morning yesterday, and I just stayed in my room as long as possible. I found things to do. I was working, and I look up and it was checkout, and I had to leave or I'd have to pay for another night. So that really pushed me to leave, and I didn't have a choice. The time had run out, and I had to get out into the world alone. I could have chosen a very simple transfer shuttle. It would have been a little bit more expensive, but something deep down inside of me wanted that journey alone yesterday. I feel like I was really scared of it. I don't know why, but I also knew that it would be very easy and effortless, and I knew exactly what to do, and I'd gone past that border once already, and so I believed I could do it. So I took my bags and I just started walking down the road in Liberia, Costa Rica, and I got to the bus station, and maybe 5 minutes later, the bus arrived. I boarded, and we were off. And I got to the border, and there was no one at the border. The border was very empty, so I didn't wait for anyone. The whole process, even though there was no one in front of me, the whole process from paying the exit, then getting stamped out, then walking to show I had my negative COVID test, then walk to get it checked again, and then wait at customs for entry and to pay and all of that. The whole process still took about 45 minutes, which I think is kind of as fast as you can do that whole thing. And so I went alone, and there were big buses that I could have gone, but they had to wait behind the trucks, and then the whole bus has to pile out and go through customs, and I probably saved at least a good hour just going by myself. So then I got to the gate where Nicaragua really begins, and people I don't know just started running up to me, and this is their culture, to sell, and they wanted to sell me a taxi. Where am I going? And just men all around me, and it was just overwhelming. I was just like, whoa, give me space. I don't even know. And they were in my face, and I was just like, no. I was just really needed a time to regroup. I was feeling really overwhelmed. Just sat and regrouped, and I just stood by the guard, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know my next move. I just felt like, okay, just stop. And this guy kept coming to me. I'm like, no, I'm waiting for my friend, leave me alone. And so he's like, okay. So he just backed off and gave me some space. And then I'm like, I want to see your taxi. Oh, we go to that car over there. I'm like, no, I want to know who's the driver. I want to see if it's a taxi. I want to see the taxi registration. And it's normally not like me, but Nicaragua was quite intense. And I just needed some clarity and some verification to appease me and pacify a little bit of my worries. So this guy I was talking to, and then there was this other guy, I don't know, maybe younger and bigger, and he was standing around. I did not like him. I did not have a good feeling about him. And I was like, is he driving? They're like, yeah, he's the driver. I'm like, no. And they're like, why? What's the matter? I'm like, no, strong no, no. And I really had to affirm myself. And then I didn't know what to do. So I just stood there and waited. And then they brought me over this other man. And they showed me the car. It was a nice red taxi, really nice car. And, well, for Nicaragua, it was nice. Like, if they have seatbelts, it's nice. And he was an older gentleman, and I felt really safe with him. And his energy was very gentle. And he showed me his his taxi ID, and all his registrations. And I was just like, yes. Was an instant yes, and my guard was down, and I went with him. And he was a beautiful, beautiful man. We talked the whole way, but it was like, oh, am I just in my fear? But it was just such a strong no and such a strong yes. And that's the only thing I can trust myself with when I travel. It's my strong no's and my strong yeses. And he understood me. He warned them, this girl has a different culture. We have to be gentle with her. It's a different culture, And so they explained to those kind of taxi sellers, I don't know. We were talking, and even one guard came up and he's like, why are you traveling alone? I was like, oh, my sister, she left this morning. She had to go work. They're like, and your boyfriend? And I just didn't even know what to say. I'm like, he's coming next week? I don't know when he's going to come. He has to do a border run, so I think he's going to come next week, but we're creating space for each other for the next month. So the guard was like, okay. And then in the car, in the taxi, I was explaining, and I started to cry and get really emotional. And he just kind of held space for me to just feel my emotions. And I said, yeah, my sister, she left this morning. My twin sister, she left this morning. And he could see my sadness. And he just allowed me to be sad and didn't try to make me feel better. He just, yeah, I understand. It was very precious. And he was a very nice man. And I'm very, very grateful to have met him and for him to be on my journey to get me to my next destination safely. He even let me stop at the bank, and he was not in a hurry. He drove me extra to another hostel that was even more far, so it was nice. And so then, today I had the chance to speak with my mom and talk about kind of where I'm at and how I'm on this journey alone. And we were talking about traveling alone, and she's like, yeah, she goes, when I travel alone, I don't necessarily do anything difficult. Like, yeah, okay, my adventure alone across the border with the local way instead of a nice, comfy private shuttle wasn't that complicated. But Mom said the most essential thing I needed to hear. And she says, being alone sometimes and doing life alone is very empowering. And that is the word I really, really resonated with me. It is empowering, to journey alone, even though it's hard sometimes, even though it's scary. I know I will be more confident with myself after this month of just truly honoring myself and my intuition. So that's it for now. I'm staying at a hostel in the outskirts of town. It's probably like a 10-15 minute shuttle to town, and I get to, there's a whole place to do yoga and beautiful breakfast and almost like a lap pool and a little place to work. So I feel really good today. I feel really good being alone. I feel empowered. I feel really confident. I feel like I'm enough.